Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and the Overwatch League is starting to unravel right before our very eyes because the very first league team has officially departed from the Overwatch League. And the team that was the first to depart actually surprised me because they seem to be the most invested in the Overwatch League. And this was the Toronto Defiant. Dude, what?
This game blows.
And while technically the Chengdu Hunters were the first to leave the league, the Toronto Defiant were the first teams to get the new quote-unquote agreement from Activision Blizzard and not renew their contract. And just very quickly for those that haven't been keeping up with the league, because there's been a lot of drama going on that you need to be filled in with. So to give you a quick summary as to why the Overwatch League is folding and why teams are leaving the league in the first place, earlier this year there was an earnings and report meeting held by Activision Blizzard and their shareholders where they stated that they're going to be going to all 19 teams with a new contract for the next season, and any teams that did not agree to the new terms and conditions, they would be given a $6 million severance to leave the league and to leave all their assets to Activision Blizzard. And the reason why Overwatch League teams would want to leave the league is because, well, it's very apparent that none of them are making money. And it's not just an Overwatch League problem, it's an esports problem where no teams are making money. However, with the Overwatch League franchise model specifically, teams like the Toronto Defiant had to spend anywhere from $20 to $35 million to enter the league and have operating costs. So while spending a lot of money to enter the league and only getting $6 million is basically peanuts, to be in a scene where you're not destined to make money, to get $6 million to leave a league where you're just going to be continuously burning money is kind of a smart choice. It's a sad choice, I'm going to admit, but it's still a smart business choice. And that's why I'm very surprised to see the Toronto Defiant be the first team to make their announcement public that they're going to be leaving the league, because they seem to be one of the teams that are most invested in the Overwatch League. Now, they're definitely not the most successful in terms of wins and championships, but they've invested heavily into infrastructure, into a facility. They've had tons of sponsors. They've invested a lot into players, but also they've had some of the most in-person tournaments ever since the COVID era. So that's why I'm saying that if a team like the Toronto Defiant, someone that has probably spent the most money this year in the league, were the first to step up saying, yep, we're dipping out of here, then I'm sure other poverty franchises and other teams that are less invested in the league are probably going to be making their announcement in the next coming days. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw teams like the LA Gladiators who made it very apparent that they no longer want to be in esports by firing most of their staff under the Guard parent company and operating all esports ventures on a skeleton model, or even a team like the Dallas Fuel, who is super decorated and owned by Optic Gaming, but they don't even play in Dallas. They operate in South Korea. And Optic Gaming, when they bought Envy, they sort of adopted the Dallas Fuel, and it's not like they really care about Overwatch, so I'm sure they'd take that $6 million and invest it in their Call of Duty team. And look, I know you could be saying, well, bro, you don't know what these teams are gonna want to do. Maybe they will want to waste $1 million every single year. Yeah, that is true. Some teams also might, but if I know anything from my time with being with a team, with being in the league, and being with the Florida Mayhem, I can tell you from firsthand that a lot of these teams just, if they had a buyer to buy out their slot from the Overwatch League, they would have been taking that deal hand over fist. So to get $6 million right in their bank account and to exit the league and to stop burning money, I think all 19 teams are kind of okay with that sort of idea, especially when you consider the fact that the Overwatch League is going to be going in a different direction, and it already has been starting to show what they're going to be doing in the near future. A couple of days ago, an Overwatch League spokesperson talked to GG Recon stating that we're going to be transitioning from the Overwatch League and evolving competitive Overwatch in a new direction. In summary, he's basically saying that they're going to be ditching the franchise model and probably opening the Overwatch League to more teams from around the world and allowing tournaments to be held from a lot more other organizations rather than just the Overwatch League, because as of right now, the Overwatch League and Blizzard and Activision have total control of competitive esports. Because of the Overwatch League's new terms of agreement and because teams aren't wanting to agree to it, there's going to be no teams to play in this league, but they still want to have an esport to be able to market this game. So they're probably going to be opening it more up to other teams from around the world to have more of an opportunity to compete at the highest level. Sort of like how old esports used to be, or at least how I remember it back in the Call of of Duty days where you could quite literally get 4 of your buddies compete in like game battle tournaments and whatnot, and then possibly get invited to other tournaments like in Columbus or London or just from various parts of the world and compete in a tournament held by like MLG or it's been so long I forgot all the other organizations, but that sort of thing. Now of course I'm not saying that that's exactly how it's going to be structured, but what I am saying is that they are probably going to be moving away from just this tight chokehold control that they've held for 6 years, because obviously it didn't freaking work. Teams bought into the league, they didn't make money, and now they want to leave. And it seems like the internal team that runs the Overwatch esports scene is looking outside to teams like ESL Faceit, who has held tons of competitive esports tournaments ever since like 2000, which just kind of solidifies the idea that the Overwatch League is going to unravel and fold itself over, but it's going to look for outside help to help run Overwatch esports tournaments. It definitely won't be at the same professional level that the Overwatch League was striding for, and it definitely won't have as much money as the Overwatch League required for it to run, but at least there's going to be some sort of esports tournament still probably being held next year. It just won't be under the Overwatch League franchise model, which that was a big benefit of the franchise model. While there's tons of problems, one good thing about it was that it had consistent contracts and benefits for players, because previously you would just play for prize pool money, which is probably what's going to happen in the next iteration of competitive Overwatch esports, is just playing for prize pool money rather than having a stable job with contracts, with a money and housing and food being provided by these teams that bought into a league. So while it's great that there's going to be some sort of esports scene for Overwatch, I definitely think it's going to be more for the hardcore fans rather than the casual fans that the Overwatch League was trying to cater to, where you have these professional teams with logos and graphics and players and interviews and tournaments held in these big convention centers. It's just not gonna really be the same, I don't think. And it sucks because I do feel like the Overwatch League were at least one of the first esports to execute a level of professionalism compared to other esports in gaming. Like, I'm a huge fan of Super Smash Bros. Melee in that esports scene, but it's definitely not as profitable and definitely not providing a lot of secure jobs compared to something like the Overwatch League, which even that was not a good game to try to secure a job in compared to like Valorant or CSGO, but it was at least providing a path to pro to be able to have a somewhat stable job and income compared to most esports ventures. But it just wasn't sustainable because of many different factors. Hopefully with this new iteration of competitive Overwatch esports, that it can just kind of go back to grassroots and build up a foundation, because that's just something the Overwatch League didn't have. It came onto the scene a year after Overwatch 1 came out, and it kind of forced these teams upon people to try to love, and it worked in the first year, but then in the second year, in the third year, in the fourth year, when all these players started to leave and all these teams started to move and make changes, it just felt like you couldn't really attach yourself to the teams. Whereas if you go to grassroots esports, which it seems like the Overwatch League or Overwatch esports is starting to do, that's where you start to have an attachment to some of these teams. Like, I'm still a big fan of Optic Gaming because of the grassroots that they planted way back in 2009, and I think that's just what Overwatch esports needs right now, is a reset, and it seems like we're going to be getting that, and the Toronto Defiant seems to be the first team to be hitting the reset button and also the eject button. If any other teams leave the league, I'm sure I'll make another video down the road updating you guys of all the teams that leave the league, which I'm guessing is going to be all 18 of them, if I have to be honest. But I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.